right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Which day 3 draft choice has the best chance to find success in his rookie year? We tackle that one coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go get some brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And this video is brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue down in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Give my good buddy Anthony Catania a call. He's at 831-521-5264. Well, I read a pretty interesting article today online, and it's from our good friend Kyle Posey, who writes for Niners Nation. And he's asking which day 3 draft choice from the 49ers 2024 draft class has the best chance to have success. And, this is one of those questions where, it's obviously a little bit of a guess. The 49ers have had a lot of success on day 3 of the draft since the outset of this regime. George Kittle, round 5. DJ Jones, round 6. Brock Purdy, round 7. Spencer Burford was a day 3 guy. Colton McKivitz was a day 3 guy. Dre Greenlaw was a day 3 guy. Talanoa Hufanga was a day 3 guy. The 49ers, Juwan Jennings was a day 3 guy. And they've even had success after the draft. So this year, their day 3 selections were Malik Mustafa, the safety from Wake Forest, who I think is a tremendous talent, a hitter, a runner, really like him. Isaac Guerendo, who at 220 pounds ran in the 4.33, I believe, for Isaac Guerendo at 220 pounds. Is he a fullback? Is he a running back? Is he a receiver? He was a receiver in high school. He was a running back in college. He looks like a fullback to me. We'll see. We'll see. And then there's Jacob Cowing, the wide receiver from the University of Arizona. There's Jarrett Kingston, an interior offensive lineman, a guard or a center from USC. And then there's Tatum Bethune, the linebacker from Florida State. So those were their day 3 picks. We'll separate the undrafted guys because, Posey in this article basically is separating them. Now, they're all very interesting. I think Mustafa has in some ways, the easiest spot to a starting job. Talanoa Hufanga's hurt. Jair Brown is the other starting safety. Then you've got guys like, George Odom, who's a special teamer, and you got Eric Harris, who's more of a practice squad guy. You got Taylor Hawkins, I think much more of a practice squad guy. So unless the 49ers add a significant piece at safety, I would say Malik Mustafa probably is the one guy on this list that could be headed towards a lot of playing time as a rookie. So I think the easiest answer is Malik Mustafa. Whether they go 3 safety looks or not, there's a very good chance that Mustafa is your free safety starting week 1, especially if Hufanga can't go. So I would probably at first blush go Malik Mustafa. Guerendo's a home run hitter, 4.3 speed. He's a trap runner. He looks like he can catch the ball to the backfield. We're going to see in the preseason what he can do. It's funny. The Niners have drafted rookie running backs in day 2, and it seems like every time they do that, the running back that they drafted after the draft, or I should say picked up after the draft, winds up beating that guy out. Raheem Mostert made the team. Jeff Wilson made the team. Trey Sermon did not. You look at Joe Williams. He did not. He was a 4th-round pick out of Utah. And so this year, Guerendo is the 4th-round pick, and Cody Schrader from Missouri, who was the SEC first-team all-SEC running back this year. Schrader's the undrafted free agent. Guerendo's the draft choice. Does that mean Guerendo's going to be a bomb and Schrader's going to be a star? I don't know, but it does make you kind of pause. So I definitely think, one, I think Guerendo could be their ideal back to be their return man in the new return rules. So I think you may see Guerendo featured in the return game. He also has wide receiver skills as a guy who played wide receiver in high school. He's got fullback size. if you want to put him out in Juice's spot. I mean, good luck defending a 4-3-3 fullback in this offense when you have Debo and Ayuk and Pearsall and all these other guys, Kittle, and all of a sudden now you're going to bust out potentially Isaac Guerendo as a 4-3-3 fullback and throw it to him in the flat, isolated on a linebacker. That could be a huge play. So Guerendo could be in some ways on paper, Isaac Guerendo is the ultimate mismatch player because there's going to be a chance that he's going to just be an incredible mismatch pretty consistently too. So that's a guy to watch for. And then, I think of the linebacker, with Dre Greenlaw out with the Achilles injury, Tatum Bethune is a coverage player. So you may see him on passing downs. And Bethune was a 7th round pick, but man, the Niners have had some good success in the 7th round. Ronnie Bell, Jawan Jennings, Brock Purdy. So I think Bethune's interesting. He was kind of a hyperactive linebacker in Florida State's defense. I preferred his teammate, who had, sub 4.5 speed. But instead the Niners went with Tatum Bethune. And I think Bethune's a solid player in his own right. And he's pretty athletic. And watching him move around in the minicamp, it was pretty obvious that he's going to give, D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Curtis Robinson, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. These guys, Bethune's going to give them a run for their money. I think, Devondre Campbell and Warner are likely your starters, but I don't think Campbell's spot is etched in stone. And if Graham outplays him, Graham will play. If Winters outplays him, Winters will play. And if Bethune outplays him, I think Bethune will play. So I think Bethune might be a good answer. Then there's Jarrett Kingston. And just watching Kingston is a power lifter. I mean, he's strong, muscular upper body, lower body, lots of reps on the bench. He looks really athletic when you see him out on the football field. Brendel, is coming off of an off-season injury. There's going to be a bunch of guys in the mix at center. There could be a bunch of bodies in the mix at right guard. If you're looking, you've got right now, you got John Feliciano and Jake Brendel and an offensive line that was ranked like 28th in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. So if Kingston has a huge camp, Kingston probably could edge in front of Feliciano or Brendel and give the Niners kind of a little bit more pop in the run game and a little more youth on the offensive line, a little bit more power and speed. So he's interesting. He could be the guy. But if you said to me, give me one guy on day 3 that you think has the best chance to succeed, I'm going to say Jacob Cowing, the wide receiver from the University of Arizona. First of all, Cowing is a savvy receiver. He understands the nuances of playing wide receiver. It's very much a nuanced wide position. That's one of the main reasons you don't see rookies step out of college and into the NFL and into instant success, because getting open in college is simple compared to getting open in the NFL. The level of detail with the route combinations in college compared to what you're getting in the NFL is quite a bit different. The defensive sophistication of an NFL defense is so much greater than what you typically have in college. And here you got Cowing, who really good player at UTEP, then transferred to Arizona, was a really good player at Arizona. And he's a good route runner. He's a savvy receiver. He understands the nuances of playing wide receiver, and he runs sub 4.4. This guy ran 4.38, and some guys run 4.38, but they don't play that fast. This guy ran 4.38, and he does play that fast. He could be a player on special teams now that Ray McLeod has ridden off into the sunset. As a receiver, he probably is the one Niner receiver that can consistently separate vertically down the field. And Brock Purdy's an aggressive quarterback who likes to take chances down the field. What does Brock love? He loves throwing the vertical pass. He loves going down the field, and he loves throwing balls to receivers that gain separation. Now here comes Jacob Cowing, and he can get vertical. He can create separation. He's a big play waiting to happen. Jacob Cowing in some ways is a player that they don't have. Danny Gray's got this kind of speed, but he doesn't have this kind of toughness or route running. Ayuk's got this kind of route running and toughness. He doesn't have this kind of speed. He's not a 4.38 guy. So I think when you see Jacob Cowing, and then I asked Brock Purdy about Cowing, and he's like, yeah, man, this guy's very consistent. You can trust where he is. The number one thing that you have to have between a wide receiver and a quarterback is basic trust. Are you going to be where I think you're going to be if I'm the quarterback? Are you going to be where you're supposed to be the way the play is designed? Or are you going to deviate? Are you going to, I used to have a buddy who I worked with in the Canadian League. He's like, Krug, don't deviate. Don't deviate. Well, you know what? Guess what? Players deviate all the time. We saw Brock Purdy screaming and yelling at Ray McLeod in a game last year. Why? Because the route called for Ray to turn out, and he turned in, and the ball was on the outside. Why? Because that's where it was intended to be. And Purdy was like, what are you doing? You could see him screaming that. And they had a conversation on the sideline. And I asked Brock about it. I said, what was going on there? He's like, well, I love Ray. He just ran the wrong route. And, we got to be on the same page and this and that. I mean, he basically just said, hey, he ran the wrong route and I yelled at his ass. And that's basically what happened there. But it was interesting. He didn't dodge. He didn't try to pretend like there was nothing wrong. He's like, yeah, he ran the wrong route. It's not the way it was carved up. Or not the way it was designed or drawn up, I should say. You got to be where you got to be. You got to be where Brock, as a receiver, where do you got to be? Where Brock thinks you're supposed to be. There's a saying, if you're right and I'm wrong, then we're wrong. If you're right and I'm right, then we're right. If you're wrong and I'm wrong, then we're right. Do you see what I'm saying? We all have to be on the same page. If we're both wrong, that's okay, as long as we're on the same page. If we're both right, that's great. That's the ideal. That's what we're striving for. But are we on the same page? Two rights make a right. Two wrongs make a right. You just can't have a right and a wrong. You can't you can't turn out when you're supposed to turn in. Yeah. You can't run the out when you're supposed to run the dig. You can't run the go when you're supposed to run the post. You can't run the post when you're supposed to run the corner. So it's like, you're not just out there just running and Brock's going to, oh, look, he's open. Now I'll throw it. No. He knows where you're supposed to be. He knows what the route combination is supposed to look like. If you're where you're supposed to be, bingo, everybody's happy. If you're not, it's not a good thing. Cowing's got versatility, deep speed, route running ability, and he's a veteran. He's got nuance. He can run routes and he knows where he's supposed to be. And he's already developing that trust with Brock Purdy. And that is a big, big factor when you're talking about the success of a wide receiver and a quarterback combination. You got to have trust and you got to be on the same page. So there you go. Good article. I would definitely encourage all of you guys to go to Niners Nation and check out my guy, Kyle Posey. He's a phenomenal writer. And this is a really good article. You could go with any number of guys, as I said. Which rookie? I'd probably at first blush say Malik Mustafa, because I think he's the guy with the direct path to a starting job and playing time. But with Greenlaw out, Bethune's going to get some time with the challenges the Niners have in the offensive line. I think Kingston and Pooney may get some time. Of course, Pooney was not a day 3 guy. He was a day 2 guy, but Kingston's going to get a little time even at guard or center. Guerendo, because of how versatile he is and how multi-skilled he is, could get some time. But I'm going to say it's Jacob Cowing, because I think when Cowing gets on the field and everybody sees that he can separate vertically, that he's got really good hands, and that he's a nuanced route runner, people are going to say, you know what? This guy's everything except for the size. He's just a smallish receiver. He's a smallish receiver, but he's a damn good one. And if I got to go with one day 3 49er draft pick that has the best chance to succeed, give me Jacob Cowing from the wide receiver, University of Arizona. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring the video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.